Okay, we are 24 hours later on making the chicken stock, and it is time to take a look at how this is coming along. And the last stage of the cooking process is adding in a bunch of parsley to each pot. The parsley is going to be added to impart a lot of minerals and vitamins right at the end. And then the broth is going to be simmered for another 30 minutes with the parsley in the pot, and then we're done. And we can strain it out and have our finished broth. So let's take a look at what's happening here. So this is pot number 1. This is the one that has the hen in it. So that it's so golden brown, it's just beautiful. Give you a little closer look here. Beautiful. Oh, and it smells amazing. It's just fantastic. And pot number 2, this has the cockerel. So that one, I'll need to up the water just a bit on this one. This pot doesn't seal as tightly as the Le Creuset, but this is looking really fantastic as well. Okay, so I'm going to set the camera down here and we will pop. So yeah, we just have 2 bunches of parsley ready to go, and that will go into individual pots. Give it a quick rinse. And this is just, I just drop it in there, get it down underneath the liquid so it can get all of those good vitamins and minerals right away. So there's number 1. And we will get number 2 taken care of. And number 2. Give you a quick visual on this. So yeah, the parsley just settles in there, and the vitamins and minerals just get drawn right out of those greens, and just provides a whole extra layer of nutrition to the chicken broth. So we're gonna let this go for 30 minutes, and then we will strain out the soup. And I guess it's not soup, it's broth. Soup is what you do when you have the broth and add in the chicken and the veggies and all that good stuff. So get the broth strained. So thank you. Okay, 30 minutes has passed, and the minerals and vitamins from the parsley have fully been drawn out of the greens and imparted into the broth. Now it is time to strain the broth and save the meat from the chicken to be used in any number of ways. You can save that meat and add it to chicken soup. You can incorporate it into casseroles. You can make it into tacos. There's so many things that you can do with it. So we'll start the straining process. And I'm going to start first with the hen. All right. So I just set up a bowl with a strainer and use my sink space. And actually, I'm going to move the lid over here. Okay. So this is the finished broth. There's just lots of stuff we're gonna strain out of here. And one of the easiest things to do is to take tongs and just pull some of these bigger pieces out right away. Now these vegetables, you don't want to save them. You don't want to use them for anything else because everything has been pulled out of these vegetables at this point. They are a shell of their former selves. And like I said before, the one part that I do want to totally hold on to is the chicken itself, because all of the meat on the chicken it's fantastic to use. So we want to save all of that. So I'm just gonna do a gentle pour into the bowl. I do have additional bowls set up because it's going to fill a couple bowls worth here. So, but first off, let me just show you this, how golden this is. I mean, this is just amazing, amazing, amazing. So good for you. Okay, bowl number 2. And this pan is just a little too warm. So that's awesome. We have got 2 nice bowls of broth for the hen, and we will move on to the cockerel. All right. Now I'm going to use different shaped containers for the cockerel broth because I want to clearly see the difference of what is going to happen to this broth once it cools. One of the key things with really, really high quality broth is for it to gel. And the gelling happens as it cools. So you could see it in the refrigerator once things really cool down. And that is the gelatin that has been drawn out of the skin and the bones and just all of the very nutritious parts of the chicken. So I just want to see if there's any difference in that gelling process between the hen and the cockerel. Okay, so we're going to do exactly the same process as we did with the hen. Pulling out some of the bigger pieces first to make this as easy as possible. Again, we've got all of our parsley that has so kindly provided massive amounts of vitamins and minerals. Okay. And just to give you a look at this one, oh, got right into the sun there. It's kind of hard to see. But there we go with our first container of that. So it's really simple to freeze the chicken broth. You could easily freeze it in quart canning jars. I just freeze them in my glass storage containers. Not a big proponent of plastic. Not to say that it's can't be done, but I just really focus on trying to keep my stuff in glass as much as possible. And had to move down to a smaller size here. I didn't have enough of my big ones. All right, just about done. Okay, so we have all of our stock strained. So I'm just gonna let this sit here on the counter, let it just cool at room temperature a bit. Here is the carcass of the hen, and I'm gonna let that cool, and I will then remove the skin and just, I mean, with your hands or a fork and a knife, the meat will just completely fall off of the bird.
Okay.
It's night and day. It's just really night and day. You see the rows.
Picking. There's some room in this bowl. If you like it, would you like it? Oh, you got it. Oh, look at that. That's a chunk.
Yeah.
I missed some.
No, it looked a little bone-like, but it's not. Okay, that's pretty amazing. The cockerel is exactly the same, 12 ounces again, after all the meat was picked off that bird. So we have got equivalent amount of meat to work with from either bird. I do have the stock cooling, and once it gets cool, we'll take a look to see if there was any level of gelling that's going to happen with the stock. So the final thing I want to look at in terms of this broth that we made with the two different birds from the Sandhill Farms chickens is to see if there's any difference in the amount of gelatin that was drawn out of each bird. And that is going to be seen with the level of gelling that happens in the broth. And the gelling is just simply not being incredibly, well, being more viscous, just being more thick and having a little more gel to it. If it's very watery and runny, there's not an abundance of gelatin in it. It still has all of the the amino acids and all of the vitamins and minerals. It just doesn't have as much gelatin, which gelatin helps to strengthen and heal our joints. Gelatin also helps in the facilitating digestion. So it's a really good thing to have a good level of gelatin in broth. But again, whether it gels or not, it doesn't reduce all of the other wonderful aspects of the nutrient level of the broth. The other thing you'll be able to see when I tilt the camera down is the difference in the amount of fat that was drawn out of each bird. So there's a significant difference in that. So let's take a look. Okay, so this first one here, now this is the one that is from the cockerel. This is the bird that is able to fly, and very small amount of fat coagulated onto the top of the broth. This one here is from the hen, and a significant greater amount of fat came to the surface. So you can just see that layer of white along there. Now, whether or not you choose to leave the fat in the broth makes no difference. You can easily take it off if that's what you choose to do. You can also leave it in. The fat is a wonderful thing for our cell structure, and it also gives us a great ability to, it helps in digestion, gives us a foundation for all of our fat-soluble vitamins. So the first one I'm going to look at here is the broth from the hen, and it's interesting. There is a definite gelling that I could tell at the base. And there's a thickness to it. It's not real watery. It's almost like a thin syrup is what it appears to be to me. Now going over to the broth from the cockerel. This one seems like it's not quite as thick. But it's still it still has a lot of structure to it, but it's just not quite as thick as the one from the hen. So this is the one from the hen on, well, my right hand, and this one over here is the one from the cockerel. Slightly different color. The hen is a little deeper amber, and the cockerel is a little more golden. And like I said, the broth from the hen did end up having a bit more gelatin be drawn from it than the cockerel. So just a couple differences between the two there. But all in all, the broth has turned out beautifully. So happy with it. And yeah, just next is whatever I choose to do with it. I'll freeze some of it. I'll make some of it into soup. You can cook rice and beans and grains with it and impart so much nutrition. Just so many things you can do with this wonderful chicken broth. So using it from a healing standpoint, especially in the cold winter months, just taking a cup of it, warming it up, and just sipping it like a warm tea. Doing that 1 to 3 times a day is wonderful, wonderful nourishment for your body, and just a great thing to boost immune system and joint health and intestinal health and all kinds of things. So just a couple notes there with the broth. So I hope that you gained some good information and some good tips from this process of showing you how to make chicken broth. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at 40weekswell.com. You can also contact Sandhill Family Farms in McLeod, North Dakota to check in with them on how to get some of these birds to make some chicken stock from. And they're wonderful, wonderful people to work with. And they come to Fargo just about every Saturday to make obtaining their goods very easy. So thank you so much, and look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day.